glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and we have entered the 49ers Twitterverse of madness. Alex, we scoured Twitter a little bit to see some of the takes, find out some of the questions and topics that people are talking about. Now we're going to talk about them on this show and see if they got a point, or if we are going to debunk them, whatever. We're just going to have a nice conversation. Maybe not debunk is the right, but have a nice conversation about them.
Just no on all of it. And I don't see that one. Some of this is just, it's almost uncomfortable. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies
The
right
one
now.
thing about Twitter, you can get every take. You can get positive takes, you can get negative takes, you can get takes right down the middle. All of them are on there. Sometimes it sways each way depending on emotion.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm having a hard time finding the middle takes, Ant, but that's probably because the ones that are so far down the spectrum on either side are the ones that stick out the most.
Yeah.
They definitely exist.
Good
I can't say they
talking
don't
points.
exist, right? That'd be crazy to say, because they definitely do. Look, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button right now if you haven't already. And Ant, let's dive into the 49ers Twitterverse of madness and try and discuss this as best we can and what's going on. First up on the docket, an interesting one that I can't wrap my head around because of the layers of hypocrisy that go into it. But hey, it is what it is. Everyone's allowed to feel it any way that they need to feel. 49ers need to trade Kyle Shanahan. Ant. They need to trade him. He's on the hot seat. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's a terrible schemer. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to call plays correctly. He's too conservative on fourth downs. He goes for it too much on fourth downs. It's all over the place, but they need to deal him for 2 first-round picks. Ant, what do you make of all of this?
Well, the first thing is, when I started seeing the whole trade Kyle Shanahan thing, it really caught me off guard, because I didn't realize we had come to that point, as a fan base, that we went, from Kyle is great. Thank God we got Kyle.
He's a genius.
He's a genius to, let's trade Kyle, and, we're ready to scrap this whole thing. It was a little bit shocking to me, but it's definitely picked up steam, and it is continued. I mean, there are people that go on to comments, on our Facebook, on our Instagram, even on our YouTube, and just say, trade Kyle Shanahan, fire Kyle Shanahan today. There's a lot of people that are moving that direction. I'm not one of those people that are ready to move that direction. I can't see the merits of doing that right now. I understand frustration. Everyone's expecting this team, to be playing, at a better rate. But we're 5 games into the season. It's 2-3. They're not 0-5. This thing doesn't need to be blown up yet. But I do think it's interesting. And I brought this up to you before. I think it's interesting that the same people that are saying he's trash, because that's what they're saying, not what I'm saying.
No.
But the same people that are saying that he is trash are also the ones saying that we can get 2 first-round picks for him. If somebody is willing to give us 2 first-round picks, that usually means the commodity that you have is not trash.
Be the opposite of trash, right? Be great.
Be very valuable.
Extremely valuable. It's almost like that'd be something you want to hold on to, unless things just weren't working out.
Not to mention, he's not cheap.
No, he's definitely not cheap. This was my initial thought when I heard this, was the people saying, "Oh, just deal him now while his value's still high." But it's like, well, hold on a second. He's doing so poorly that you've gone from, this guy is a genius, he's done incredible things with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is a nobody quarterback, and look what he's been able to do with that guy, to 1 game of Trey Lance, and now he needs to be traded to the Vegas Raiders for 2 first-round picks. Huh. Interesting.
Now,
it shifts so fast.
And in all honesty, the way the Raiders pick in the first round, they probably should make this trade if it's available, because they don't know what to do with first-round picks. Sorry, I had to take a little bit of shot.
I mean, look, it's fair. It's just it's an odd one. It's a really odd thing to think. It's a real odd thing to even get to. The fact that is the point that people are going to makes me think one of 2 things. Either A, they don't understand actual trade value for things and how things work out and what teams would be willing to give up for a trash coach, right, if he is that. Or 2, you don't actually know what you have in Kyle Shanahan, and you basically putting out there that 2 first-round picks would be enough to get him tells me that you understand what you have in Kyle Shanahan, because he probably would be worth about that to another team. But if you're willing to move on from that, for what? I mean, really, Are people thinking that you trade Kyle Shanahan, DeMeco Ryans becomes the head coach because he's outcoached him? How does that fix the offense?
It doesn't. I mean, and that's the thing is there's no clear answer of what awaits, right? Sometimes we want to push the button and get rid of what's there right in front of you, but the alternative might not be as good. You see this happen a lot, especially in college football. They'll remove a coach, they'll bring someone else in, somebody that's considered hot at another level, and then they get there and the same sort of problems persist. So it's really not all about that sometimes. I think sometimes we just need to not go down that road, because I still remember, and I know everyone that's watching this will remember this too, how bad it was with Dennis Erickson, with Nolan, with Singletary, with Tomasula. Like, we were so happy when Jim Harbaugh came. It was like, yes, we finally got a coach that we can really count on. And then after Jim Harbaugh was gone, it was like, oh, Tomasula, Chip Kelly. I mean, I was at least a little bit intrigued by Chip Kelly, but it didn't show up on the field.
I wasn't.
So that way, when Kyle Shanahan came, it gave you those Jim Harbaugh vibes again. Like, dude, we are finally relevant again. We can finally win again. I'm not ready to go back to irrelevant. I don't think that Kyle Shanahan has proven anything other than he's trying to build a team that can win. Him and John Lynch work well together, and I want to give it time. I mean, has it produced the results yet, the championship that we wanted? No, it hasn't happened yet. And it needs to happen at some point, but I don't think that this is the time that you pull the ripcord and detach from this situation. I think it's a little bit of a wait and see. We might have to live through, a little bit of a stretch of Kyle Shanahan here, but hopefully Kyle Shanahan gets that championship. And if he does, nobody's ever going to say trade Kyle Shanahan again. No,
that those comments will be bunked. They'll be gone. They'll disappear into the void where they belong, where they should be right now. But that's part of the thing with 49ers fans, right? Was we're used to a certain standard and things being a specific sort of way. And so when things don't necessarily hit that right off the get-go, or when people think, I think people thought 4 years in we'd start to see that, just 3 years in, you get yourself into that Super Bowl and you're like, okay, it's Super Bowl or bust now every year. That's kind of where we've been. You got to take into account other things and factors as a 49er fan. Last year, that COVID season is not normal. It's not normal.
Yeah.
You had teams that should have produced that didn't. You had teams that produced at a high level, and you had teams that completely fell apart. It was a crazy year. It truly, truly was. And I'm not willing to hold 2020 over his or any coach's heads. Just like I'm not willing to crown any team from that 2020 season. You've heard me talk about this a lot with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and where I feel on that. 2021 is a traditional season now in terms of teams having the preparation time necessary, not being limited as much in scouting and things of that nature. This is traditional. It's more akin to what everyone is used to. This year will be a better indication of where things are. And yes, things aren't great now, but it's still early in the season, so things can get better. They can improve. I'm not willing to jump any which direction on this yet, and I'm firmly sitting in the middle on this. Kyle has done great things for this team. This team has developed. He inherited a really, 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 really bad football team, and we're not a really bad football team right now. We're a football team that's a few things away from being undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to jump, and go down that road yet either. But I do think that, part of it is that there was expectations coming into that 2019 season because the 49ers were ahead of schedule. The expectations are we're going to be able to compete every year like we did in the 80s and 90s. Yep. We're going to compete every single year and have an opportunity to win. Even if we don't win the championship, we're going to be in that conversation. And we haven't got that consistency from Kyle Shanahan, and that's what people are expecting. Now, people are going a little bit farther than I would like to go. What I would like to do is make sure that we give Kyle Shanahan the opportunity to build with Trey Lance, because they went and got a young rookie quarterback. Next year, that rookie quarterback is going to be expected to play at a high level. Mm-hmm. And Kyle Shanahan developing him is going to be indicative of that. And if it doesn't show up next year, then a lot of these calls are going to get louder, and then this seat will start to heat up a little bit for Kyle Shanahan.
Just a little bit. And, I'm someone who's saying that – I'm not saying that there never is a time for the seat to get warm. Just saying right now it's really, really –
I think so, too.
Super early. It's already pretty toasty in the room. We don't need to warm up the seat. The seat's fine.
That's what they do on Twitter, though. They put your feet to the fire every single day.
It's true. They never stop, Ant.
No.
They never stop. Look, the other thing that's been brought up a lot in the Twitterverse is Trey's time. This is Trey's opportunity. This is his moment. And this is, I think, part of the reason why people want the seat to be hot, is they want Kyle to just pull the trigger on the quarterback situation. And Eric Davis had some interesting thoughts on this, because he brought up and talked about how the two coaches who know Trey Lance the best, his college coach and the NFL coaches that have been working with him, have both said very similar things in that, which is right now he's not really fully ready to take it on. He's not fully ready to handle. And that should be indicative of where people are viewing this situation with Trey is. Kyle is not trying to put Trey in a position that he's not ready to handle. He's trying to give him time. It's one of those things that's not helping. It's not helping the Shanahan conversation itself. The scheming issue that people keep saying is there. Him not making right decisions, him being too conservative, him making dumb play calls, and he doesn't even want to pull the trigger on Trey Lance. He's wasting Brandon Ayuk, right? Yeah. All of these things right now, they're just all building for Kyle Shanahan, and a lot of that is because the team hasn't been winning football games that they could have won. But a lot of it also is people are just wanting to see these new pieces go out there and produce at an extremely high level.
Yeah, I mean, if you read 49ers Twitter, they want Kyle Shanahan to go into every single huddle, for Trey Lance and just say, all right, Trey, I want you to throw it to Brandon. Every single play, throw it to Brandon. And that is what people are calling for on Twitter pretty much the whole time. Yeah, we're gonna run that deep route to Brandon right now.
Hey, but Coach, didn't you say that we're supposed to look for the middle crosser here if they're sitting back in cover 3?
Yeah, he's like, all right, we're gonna go with throw to Brandon and throw to Brandon. So he comes up to the line of scrimmage. He's like, all right, we're throwing it to Brandon.
We're throwing it to Brandon.
Yeah. That's kind of a joke, but that is kind of the call, right? That's what people want. People had high expectations for Brandon Ayuk. He's a huge fan favorite for 49er fans. And yeah, they want to see Trey Lance out there and ready to operate. And they don't want to accept that a rookie quarterback is not ready to go right now, that he can't make all the reads and do all the things that he needs to do to run Kyle Shanahan's offense. And somehow that is going to be Kyle Shanahan's fault. And that's why Kyle Shanahan's on the hot seat, because everyone got a shiny new toy and they're not able to play with it. And that is not fair, right? Your parents are being mean because they don't let you stay up after 8. I mean, that's how it feels. It's unfortunate right now, but people need to realize this takes time and development. You got to be able to earn it. And Trey is doing a good job of developing. He just not developing to the pace that the expectations were set, because there are media members that set a certain, narrative.
They would never.
Yeah, Alex, they did. And during training camp, they set a narrative that he was already outperforming Jimmy Garoppolo, and he was making all the reads, and he was making all these throws.
Even though he was completing 50% of his passes?
He was, and he's doing that consistently right now, and that's okay. That's who Trey is right now. He's developing, he's learning. But because of that, it changed everyone's mindset and their thought process on what to expect from Trey Lance, and it wasn't fair to Trey Lance.
No.
That's why we said from the beginning, what did we say when we went and watched him in person was, wow, Trey Lance has a phenomenal deep ball. He's fantastic. He creates with his feet, and he's wonderful in the red zone. Those are areas where he's successful. When he struggles is moving the ball consistently. When you're having to go down, drive. And he did a good job this week in the game of moving the football down the field. So I'll give him credit for that, which means he's improving.
And he struggled at times in the shorter distances situations, which is the area we saw him thrive in camp, which means that there's an adjustment period for Trey. There's an adjustment period on the other side as well with what is going on with defenses and how they're playing Trey Lance and the things that they're trying to take away and the things they're trying to make him do.
No, 100%. And, we just need to be patient with it. Trey's not ready to go all the way right now. Jimmy, is the guy. If we put Trey out there, and I'm not against, if Kyle decides to go with Trey Lance, I'm not against Trey Lance going out there. Just everyone needs to understand he's going to have some struggles. It might not be turnovers, but it's going to be turnover on downs, and he's going to miss open receivers. Those kind of things are going to happen because he's learning on the job. So you have to temper your expectations on not only his performance, but on the performance of the team and the win situation, because you're not going to win as many football games. If you're one of those 49er fans that you're ready to scrap this season, you're ready for Trey to develop because you're ready for next year, then you're going to be okay with Trey going out there right 100%. Now. And if you are still one of those ones, and that's kind of the category I'm in, I still want to try to win this year. I feel Jimmy gives us the best option, but I want Trey to be developing along the way because I know Trey's going to take the reins next year and take us to new heights. I think there's other people that are on that category too, and I think both are okay. Just know what you're going to get from it and what those expectations and realistic thoughts are.
Or you can be in my boat, in which is this team has the opportunity to compete this year, should be competing this year, and it's a few things away, right? They can get it done. But I also think that Trey may need a little bit more time than people think. I'm not necessarily in the boat that you're in, that I think Trey's going to be ready next year. The more I watch Trey, the more I have questions about how long it may legitimately take to get him there. And I understand what this team is right now for the next 3 to 4 years, what it still can be. A lot to put on a guy that I'm not convinced of. Maybe you're in my boat. You think we need to go get Aaron Rodgers? Maybe that's where you're at, but hey.
So Alex is jumping in with a Twitterverse, a madness thought process.
I am, except mine's at least grounded in I'm not ready to give up on Trey Lance. I'm just saying he needs more time, and maybe there's a way to bridge that just a little bit more with the Hall of Fame quarterback who's from this area. I'm just saying, Ant.
I'm curious what people's take are on that. Yeah.
Let us know what you think in the comment section down below.
Definitely.
Definitely. But that's not even, that one might be a little bit out there, and somebody may be like, that's crazy. I don't know, Ant. Because there's some crazier ones out there, and people, including people, calling for George Kittle to be traded because he can't stay healthy, Ant. He wasn't healthy last year. He missed some time. He's not healthy again this year. I don't even know why we bother. Just get rid of him, is what people are saying. Yeah. His stock is still high. People still consider him to be a great tight end, even though he's never playing. Trade him now.
I think that there's a frustration level there with George Kittle because everyone knows what he means to this football team and the production that he can present for him. I'm not ready to go down this road about the whole trade George Kittle thing. To me, it's
this crazy. This crazy.
The injury concerns are not crazy.
You can be concerned about injuries and not have this take.
I agree. I mean, at some point, right? It is George Kittle needs to stay healthy, or you have to do something there because you have to figure out a way. But right now, even when George Kittle plays part of the year, he's such a huge advantage for you in the run game and in the pass game that you can't go without this guy. You're hoping that it figures out. I mean, he worked all offseason. That's the one thing is he's very diligent about trying to recover. So last year he had the foot issue. So what did he work all offseason on was working on the foot and getting it back. And then he gets a contact injury with a contusion on his calf, and it ends up causing an issue for him, and he tries to grit through it and power through it. And sometimes that's a weakness of his because he'll go out there and gut it out even when he probably shouldn't. It's also one of the things I love about him. But, yeah, I'm not ready to go down the George Kittle needs to be traded thing because I know what he means to this football team. And when he's out on the field, the 49ers are immensely better. And when he's not, they struggle a little bit in areas that you just take for granted when he's out there. So, yeah, we need 85 on this team. And in the same regard, I understand the frustration because I want him to stay healthy too.
And this is, for me, there's one reason this is crazy. There is nobody available out there on this roster that does the things that he does. And the minute he's no longer on this roster, until you have a replacement for George Kittle, you'd be crazy to let him go. You'd be crazy to move on from
100%.
Him because you're not going to, there's going to be an immediately, a huge dip in terms of production, in terms of run game effectiveness, in terms of being able to do the creative things that Kyle wants to do in the run game. That guy doesn't exist on this roster.
Also energy on offense.
That too. It drops dramatically.
Yeah.
If your take is that, they need to address the tight end position so that way if they need to move on from, fine, fair. That's fair. I would agree with you. I think they need to get better depth behind George Kittle because I don't like what we have there behind him.
Wait, but Twitter says that Ross Dwelley could be tight end 1.
Yeah, no. Ross Dwelley can barely be tight end 2. I've been trying with Ross. I've been trying. I've been hypercritical of Ross Dwelley. You know this.
Yes.
I don't know if I can do it, man. I don't know if I can be fully on board with Ross Dwelley as tight end 2 for the 49ers in the future unless we see a dramatic change because right now there is a huge noticeable drop-off in terms of blocking, recognition of who to block, route running, ability to get open in space, and ability to execute. It's just not the same. It's not the same when Kittle goes down, and if George Kittle is going to...
But is it anywhere? Is Travis Kelce's backup as good as Travis Kelce? Is Robert Tonyan's backup as good as Robert Tonyan?
No.
That's the
Robert
thing.
Tonyan's taking a big step back.
Is Waller's backup as good as Waller?
No, heck no.
When you have an elite tight end like that, you're not going to have a backup that can reach that level.
That's true.
And let's be honest, we broke it down in the film.
I do like Blake Bell, though, in Kansas City.
Well, we used to have Blake Bell.
That's true.
Former quarterback who we drafted, and now he's gone. But anyways, we digress. Anyways, about this, though, is I was thinking, Dwelley was open in this game. Down the seam. He had potential to make a couple of big plays, and he did have a couple of catches in the game.
True.
So it's not the receiving aspect that I'm really hating on him being a number 2. The blocking aspect has been there, right? That's why you drafted Charlie Warner, though, so he could take those roles that Dwelley doesn't have to do. The problem is when George Kittle's out, now you're expecting those guys to do both of those roles, and they're just not able to do it. You put those two guys together, they're still not as good of a tight end as George Kittle.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. George Kittle is just a special talent, so it's frustration right now. But no, you don't trade him because you're not going to get that value back. I don't care who those 2 first-round picks are. You're not getting value back for George Kittle.
You may never get it back. You may never get back at that position.
Probably not. Yeah.
I mean, it's just
it's a crapshoot, right? It's the draft is a crapshoot. There's no guarantees you're going to get anyone with that production. Remember, George Kittle was a 5th round pick, not a 1st round pick, and there's no guarantees with those picks you're going to get back any sort of. There's also no guarantee that there's going to be a tight end worthy of a 1st round pick in the upcoming draft that you can go out there and get and know that you're going to get a semblance of close to production. Yeah, you have no idea.
It's too hard. Yeah. It's way too hard. This one drives me nuts. I love George Kittle, everything he adds to this offense, what he is as a person and as a football player. That's almost at this point in time, it is impossible to replace. Yeah. There isn't anyone out there that you can replace that with.
Let's not ignore the fact that part of this is happening because they believe, and I'm saying Twitter, believe that George Kittle is, backing Jimmy Garoppolo as a starting quarterback and that he somehow hates Trey. And remember, if you are against Trey or you have a different viewpoint of Trey, then Trey is the absolute golden child, the best in the world at what he does today. The CM Punk of wrestling. He is the CM Punk of the NFL. If you have a different opinion than that, then you go on the back burner. Kyle Shanahan learned his lesson, maybe. George Kittle is finding out you don't get Slurpees at 7-Eleven with George Kittle, or with Jimmy Garoppolo without taking Trey. If Trey's not in that back seat with you guys, it's a mistake, and he's finding out now.
That's just petty. It's just petty nonsense.
I'm just telling you,
I know that's what's happening and what's going on, and it's just I don't want to think about it. It's making my brain hurt. And it's not from the Slurpee. I wish it was from the Slurpee. I wish it was
sounds delicious right now.
I wish it was a brain freeze.
Yeah.
And not a brain ache from the nonsense. The last one we want to talk about that's been making its rounds on the Twitterverse, Ant, Travis Benjamin.
Yeah.
Travis Benjamin promoted to the active roster, Ant, and immediately inserted into the game and was taking deep routes down the field, and people are losing it.
Yeah.
They are upset.
So let's explain this as clear as possible.
It's going to be hard to do that.
If you watch the game film of 49ers versus Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
The 49ers had situations where they had Jawan Jennings, they had Mohamed Sanu, they had Trent Sherfield, and Seattle completely manned them up one-on-one and knew that they couldn't win. So the 49ers needed a deep threat, somebody that was going to stretch it. Sherfield's not getting it done for whatever reason. When he's out there, his snaps are not working out.
On the All-22 film,
yeah,
we watched that happen 3 or 4 different times. You have me pause it. You look at me and you're like, is it time to call Travis Benjamin?
It's true.
In the middle of the film breakdown, I was like, you might be right. It might be time to make the move for Travis Benjamin. No less than a day later, Travis Benjamin is activated on the roster. You and I are smiling. We didn't come onto the podcast and be like, oh, we called it over on Patreon. We just smiled because we had a feeling we knew it was coming. His first route is a deep route downfield on the All-22 film as well, Ant. And what happened?
Yeah, well, it's not his first route. But
it's his second.
He has the route where he does the comeback, where he's completely open because they respect his deep. But they run a route where he's running a deep vertical. And then Deebo Samuel's coming across the field on a crosser. And it's a deep crosser, too. It's about 20 yards deep. And he pulls 3 guys, both corners and the safety.
It's cover 3,
folks. It's cover 3. And he pulled all 3 because for 2 reasons. Number 1, they respect the fact that Trey Lance can throw the deep ball. Mm-hmm. He's proven that in the preseason, so he at least has that respect. Number 2, they respect the fact that Travis Benjamin can go deep. That is a huge thing for Kyle Shanahan to use because it allowed Deebo Samuel to operate underneath and have a nice big chunk play down the field. The same thing, though, with Travis Benjamin is who has Travis Benjamin been playing with at practice? He's been practicing on the scout team with Trey Lance. So you mean that Travis Benjamin getting targets, it makes sense because Trey feels comfortable with Travis Benjamin. The first throw where he's climbing the pocket and he throws, the interception over the top, it's going to Travis Benjamin because, number 1, Travis Benjamin is in the right spot.
And he's wide open.
Number 2 is because he trusts Travis Benjamin. Later on, Travis Benjamin has one-on-one coverage. He throws to him. It's a pass interference call. He has that connection and faith with him because they've been working together. So it makes sense for Kyle Shanahan. What do we talk about? Let's make Trey Lance comfortable in games.
But how dare you do that at the expense of Brandon Ayuk? How dare you?
And Brandon Ayuk's 46 snaps compared to Travis Benjamin's, handful, 10?
It was 15. I think it was 15.
Okay.
So this is the thing that was driving me nuts is that there were people out there legitimately claiming, not having watched film, not looking at statistical breakdowns of the game and the numbers, what the numbers actually say. Because you and I don't always necessarily rely on numbers. You more so than me, but film, absolutely. And when you watch the film, pretty obvious. Ayuk's playing significantly more than Travis Benjamin. Ayuk's running significantly more routes than Travis Benjamin. And in terms of, like, if you just watch the film and you're not actually, like, taking notes on who gets passed where and who's running routes where, it feels like they get targeted about the same amount of times. And then you look at the numbers, the numbers back the film and what we saw, right? Ayuk plays about 30 snaps more than Travis Benjamin. He runs more routes than Travis Benjamin, but they get targeted roughly the same. Benjamin 3, Ayuk 4, right? So similar numbers, even though there's significantly less snaps. Maybe that says something, and when you watch the film, it does to an extent, because there are times where Brandon Ayuk's open and he's not getting targeted, and when Travis Benjamin is on the field, whether he's open, wide open or not, and when he's not open, he's drawing multiple people to him, and when it's close or he's open, Trey's trying to go to him, he's looking his direction. There's familiarity there, there's comfort there, there's something there that Trey trusts, and we talked about how Kyle was going to do things to make Trey feel comfortable and play to Trey's strengths. One of those strengths is running timing routes deep downfield with a guy he's been throwing to for the first 4 weeks of the season, Travis Benjamin. Guess what Travis Benjamin ran a lot of? Timing routes deep downfield.
Yeah.
Deep middle of the field comebacks, deep post rails, 18 to 20 yard rails on the outside. Those are timing routes that a guy you need right repetition, repertoire, and understanding. Both guys understanding each other. They've gotten that.
Yeah, and even the scramble drill, right? We talked about Trey Lance having to be in the scramble drill. There's one play where Travis Benjamin runs a deep vertical over on the right side of the field, and Trey rolls to the left. Travis Benjamin makes it all the way across the field, and the ball gets thrown near him out of bounds. He knows how to play with Trey Lance. There's a comfort there. So it made sense strategically for Kyle Shanahan to put Travis Benjamin on the field. And that's why. And I think people just don't, are not thinking of that. No. There's not, that's just something they're not thinking about right now.
Well,
we're just trying to, bring it out. Is because if you looked at it just as face value, somebody just came off the practice squad. Why are they getting targeted compared to, somebody that we expect to be a big time player in this league? And that's part of the reason why. As also, Brandon's not always taking the top off the defense, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Travis Benjamin on this. Yeah, we're talking about Travis Benjamin on this, but Travis Benjamin is a legitimate receiver in this league.
He's not a typical practice squad guy either.
He's really not. He's a veteran guy that you can count on. And Kyle knew what he needed out of this game. They had situations where they had backup cornerbacks in, so you could possibly maybe get a couple shots down the field. Now the Cardinals took that away, but it left underneath routes. And Brandon Ayuk should have had more catches. He was missed. He could have been targeted 3-4 more times in this game. Easily had close to 8 catches. But he was kind of missed on when he was wide open.
And it would have been 8 catches for about 70, 80 yards too, because a couple of those would have been even
more. He could have broke because he's got that dynamic ability with his legs once he gets the ball in his hand.
Correct. So look, I mean, I'm not there. I'm not there with you on some of this Twitterverse. Twitterverse and I don't really tend to get along. I don't look at a lot of things on Twitter.
Some of it makes me chuckle. I enjoy it sometimes.
You know this. I've pretty much tuned off my Twitter account. My Twitter account exists. It's there. But it's not doing anything. It's just there for people to like tag me in and for me to like find and read like 8 months later and be like, oh, that's funny. But it doesn't exist for me to interact on. And a lot of that is because it's just a lot of the things that are being said and talked about for me, it's just like, this doesn't move the needle for me in terms of conversation or even a thought process or a line of thought that I want to go down.
Yeah.
But that's okay, right? That's what you have these avenues for, is for people to be able to express themselves and be able to take those paths. For some people, it works. It's what they want to do. And for other people, like myself, it's just not there. And that's A-okay. Conversation is important and is what needs to be happening. And we felt like we need to talk about a lot of the stuff going on in the Twitterverse because it does impact the 49ers. It impacts their players. They're seeing it. And we saw the stuff that was going on with Raheem Mostert earlier in the year and some of the comments that were being made. And then the positive reactions that came out of that and all the donations that went to their charitable organization in their name. Yeah. That was incredible.
Well, I think also it pushes narratives about the team, about what's going on. So we discuss them, and maybe you agree with those narratives and those things being pushed. But sometimes you got to dig a little bit deeper. With all things information wise, dig a little bit deeper. My dad used to always tell me, don't take something someone says, look into it too and see and verify it. And I try to do that with all things, and I trust my eyes more than I trust somebody else's. But if somebody brings up a topic, I'll dive more into it. Somebody told us in the comment section to look at another lineman that I think he's actually an improvement over Brendel. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a deep dive into that film and check it out and see if that's a possibility. So sometimes that stuff, is there. But right now, be careful what you get caught into. There's currents that are moving. And some of them are tides. They're going to rip tides. They're going to pull you underneath and drag you into that deep ocean that you don't want to be in. It can get really deep and dark in there, and we don't need to go to negative town all the way right now. Let's ride the waves of positivity and just enjoy 49ers land. But these are all good things to talk about. Some of them have merit, and some of them don't. And it's a nice conversation to have, at least.
This is why we do some of the stuff that we do on Patreon, and then we add that stuff in, the all 22 films, breakdowns, and things of that nature that we could post here on YouTube, but they're going to get just demonetized and potentially shut down and not available for you to view. So we put that stuff up on Patreon so that it's there. It's additional stuff that you guys can get and gives you a little bit of insight into the process and gives you the reasoning behind a lot of the things that we're talking about here on the pod. The things that we're discussing here on the podcast are things that we've watched, that we've witnessed, that we've gone over, that we've looked at, and based on the things that we've both experienced on top of what we're actually seeing on film, going, okay, seems pretty straightforward to us in terms of what's happening here, and then we're able to come and discuss that with you and give you that insight, or at least our insight into what we're seeing and how we're coming to the conclusion that we're coming to. And the best part is that we're giving you an avenue to fully digest all of that, right? 3 hours of content broken up into 2 episodes where you can break it up and watch at your own pace, but you have everything at your disposal to watch the film for yourself and make your own decisions and come to your own conclusions instead of having to rely on somebody else. You can hear us talk about it. You can also mute it, have us say no words, and just watch the all 22 film yourself. And it's great because you're allowed to get insight into what we're thinking, as well as draw your own conclusions and get your own insight. It's a lot of fun over there, and it's very useful.
Yeah, it is. And that's the biggest thing, is get into it, watch it for yourself. If you have something and you feel like you're not getting the correct answer, and maybe you don't feel like you're getting the correct answer from us, dig into it deeper, get into the film, find out for yourself, educate yourself as far as, just being about X's and O's and about football. That's one of the fun parts about it. Understanding football is a very complex game. It seems like it's not, but there's so much going on at one time.
You don't just catch the ball, hand it off, and go?
No, unfortunately not. I wish it was that easy. It's not. I think that's part of what drew me to football is the complex intricacies of it, and the chess match of moving pieces around and getting somebody to adjust. And that's the exciting part. And, some people, it's not about that. Some people, it's about the emotion. It's about the hitting. It's about the scoring. And that's okay too.
Absolutely.
Whichever angle you look at, that is what, what you want. But if you want that other angle of looking at the game film, and like Alex said, if you don't want to listen to what we have to say about it, that's fine too. Just go on there and watch it for yourself, make your opinions, and then let us know what you think, because I am curious what you see when you see the film. If you're seeing it different, I've said this a many times. I used to watch game film with a lot of coaches, and we would all see the game differently from a different perspective. And it doesn't mean that any of them are wrong. It just means it's different. Sometimes a different eyes see different things. So I am curious what everyone sees when they watch it.
Including you and I. We've had a couple of spicy moments on film where we see a coverage and you thinking one thing and I'm thinking another.
It's true.
Your reasoning is sound and my reasoning is sound. I may just be giving someone a little more credit and you're just going, no, that guy's just wrong. It's a lot of fun. It really truly is. So for those of you on Patreon, we'll see you on the next one. If you want to hop over as well, link is in the description as well as pinned in the comments. Don't miss out on that. Twitterverse may be a little mad, a little crazy, but they're crazy in love with this 49ers team.
100%.
They just want what's best for the organization. And everyone's got a little different spin in terms of how they feel about it and how it needs to be accomplished. And you know what? As long as it's coming from a good place, I'll be A-okay with that. Cutback crew, let us know about all of it down in the comment section below. We love y'all. We'll see you in the next one. And until then, stay safe.
Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.